YouTube, welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. In today's video I'm going to be making my predictions for the upcoming League 2 season. So we're now on the EFL predictions. This is pre-recorded on Sunday, the one which has just been, so it's gonna be, could be quite out of date by the time you're watching this on Friday, but hopefully the main predictions won't have changed that much. But I've sort of made predictions about what's going to happen in the upcoming few weeks to sort of balance that out. So let's start with 24th. I've gone with Barrow. They would have been relegated last season if Scunthorpe and Oldham weren't so bad. They had quite bad patches of form last season, and the manager Pete Wild hasn't had that much experience at this level. The players are about the same quality as last season, but the strength of teams promoted from the National League are better than Barrow, so I think they'll be relegated. 23rd, I'm with Rochdale. Rochdale have extreme difficulties at the moment in regards to finance. I've seen all sorts of things muttered, and maybe potential points deduction, maybe transfer embargoes, It's all a bit of a chaos at the moment at that club. We've got quite a large loan to pay off, that's why. And I think they're also quite struggling with fans at the moment in terms of attendances have been quite poor. So they can't raise enough revenue, so I just don't feel like they'll be able to do that well this season. I don't think they'll quite enter administration, but I think it'll just be quite a poor season regardless. Robbie Stockdale only has experience of a full-time gig at management last season, and they finished 18th with that. And I think they will continue to slide this season. His win percentage is 27.78% after all, and that's kind of relegation form, only having a win in every 5 games or so. That's not good enough. 22nd, Stevenage. They always seem to just scrape survival and haven't finished in the top half since 2018-19, and only twice in since 2014-15, when they finished in the playoffs, have they not been in the bottom half. They have also recruited way too many players at the moment, so I think they need to get rid of some. Steve Evans is overrated in my opinion, and has had quite poor records of relegations with recent clubs. I think he was with Gillingham, and they've been relegated this season. But there are 2 worse teams than Stevenage, so I think they'll just stay up. 21st, Bradford City. Half the squad has changed since last season, so it'll be hard to get a rhythm at the start of the season. Mark Hughes hasn't had a win percentage above 40% since 2008-9. He's also not had that much experience of this level of management. Instead, he spent a lot of time managing in the Premier League, whereby the style of play is and would have been very, very different to that of League 2. So he kind of needs to adapt his system, and I think that will result in them struggling at the moment if he tries to implement the wrong philosophy. But I think they will stay well clear of relegation. 20th, I've gone with my first sort of big call is Salford City. I've sort of been slipping recently, I've noticed, not on the greatest upward trajectory as they were. This, I think, is down to their policy of constantly sacking managers. Even if they're in like 3rd place or 4th place or whatever, they sack the manager. It's a stupid philosophy to have. I mean, I know it works with Chelsea, but Salford aren't quite Chelsea, are they? And I think this sort of gets laziness and advocating responsibilities of players as like, well, we'll just get another manager. And I think this is what's happening with Salford at the moment, and I think they'll slip to 20th this season. It'll only be a one-off season. They'll get back to it after this season. It's just a bit of a mad call, really. 19th, Hartlepool United. I actually finished in this position in 2013-14, and I reckon it'll be a similar season to that one. I don't think there'll be too many complaints for this one, to be fair. I think they'll start the season well, but will have really bad form from about January onwards. They have made some decent signings though, with the acquisitions of Carl Leveron and Alex Lacey. 18th, Crew Alexandra. Had such a torrid season last campaign, and it would be hard to break out of that sort of negativity. And so the negativity will continue into this season. But they will have an up-tournament form towards the end of the year to finish around about 18th. But maybe after sacking the manager, I don't really trust Alex Morris. He doesn't have any experience as a first-team manager, so yeah. 17th, I'm going Grimsbytown. If they keep the core of their squad, especially with key players like Luke Waterfall, but they have already lost Ben Fox, to be fair, who they would have needed him probably to finish higher. But they did replace him with Otis Khan. They have also brought him a striker, Danilo Orsi-Dodomo, but I think they maybe need one more striker to really solidify this place for me. But that winning mentality they had from last season and the team spirit, I think will just be enough to survive. 16th, Harrogate Town. They will move away from a relegation battling team to mid-table now. Simon Weaver, massively underrated manager. I think he's one of the best managers actually in the EFL, if not all of the top floor leagues. He has a win percentage of 40.48%. And he's been at the club since 2009, I think it was. So he just sort of knows it inside out, really. Where the flaws are, where they need to improve, what we can do, sort of change and adaptability. And they've already added 4 players, so they have brought in the quality through the door. 15th, Carlisle United. They will reach mid-table instead of struggling this season for several reasons. 1, historically they have been much more successful, and last season was sort of a blip. 2, Paul Simpson has done very well in ensuring survival for the Cumbrians and will continue to improve with the club. And finally, at number 3, they have the attacking options of Jordan Gibson, Ryan Edmondson and Amari Patrick, and I think they'll score a decent enough return. But we also have the safe hands of Thomas Holly in the goal, and so they have the squad to finish mid-table. 14th, Colchester United. They have a very experienced squad with the players Luke Chambers, Tommy Smith, Cole Scouse, Frank Newell, Alan Judge, Freddie Sears, Tom Dallison, John Akinde, Cameron Cox and Amir Hughes. So they will therefore finish comfortably in mid-table in about 14th. 13th, going with Newport County. James Robury is a decent manager, so will get the team to challenge for playoffs. However, he is vastly inexperienced, so won't reach them just. I think it's going to be quite a close upper end of the table this season. They have a half-decent team, but I don't think it's enough to get in the playoffs, really. 12th, Crawleytown. They always finish in this position, and they didn't last finish 12th in 2019-20. Although that was actually just based on points per game. They would have finished 12th that season as well, in terms of points regards. So in reality, it was probably 2018-19 if it was the last time it didn't finish 12th. Kevin Betsy is very inexperienced as a manager and will try to play fluid football in League 2. And that will sort of have mixed success, is depending on their opposition and stuff. 11th, Northampton Town. Right, hear me out. Right, this is a bit of a dodgy one. I know they finished 4th last season. But the shock of missing out on automatic promotion, that would have hit them really, really bad. They didn't get promoted via the playoffs because of that shock. And I think the negativity will sort of continue, like a bit star-dazzled, before they sort of rebuild and push back up. And they also lost several key players, like Nicky Kabambe, Danny Rose and Liam Roberts, and have only really brought in moderate replacements. I know some of them are slightly decent, but it's not quite good enough to get back to where they want to be. 10th, Sutton United. They challenged for the playoffs last season and will probably do so again, but drift off a bit, I think. Oh. Sorry about that. And Matt Gray has a very good win percentage at this club of 46.21%. So I think we'll continue to reap the relative success at this club. I think 10th, not too many complaints, and it won't be as good as they were last season. But I was sort of riding high with the positivity, and so I think we'll do alright this season. 9th, Mansfield Town. Nigel Clough has gathered a very strong squad for League 2, and they should be reaching the playoffs with the players they have. But I have a feeling at the start of the season they'll be a bit slow, but they certainly have. They'll certainly make a late push, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do actually make the playoffs. 8th, we're going with Stockport County. Dave Challoner, since he has come into this club, has revolutionised it. He's got a current record of 24 wins out of 30 games. That's a ridiculous win record and percentage. Don't quite know the percentage, but yeah. They've also brought in high standard players like Cole Wooten, Miles Hippolyte, Connor Limone Evans, Joe Lewis, Akil Wright and Fraser Horsfall. Furthermore, they've extended the contracts of important players like Ryan Crowsdale. This will make them successful and challenge for the playoffs, although I think they will just miss out, unfortunately. 7th, I'm going with Walsall. They have made ambitious transfers, acquiring Liam Gordon, Peter Clark, and several young players such as Isaac Hutchinson. Michael Flynn is a very successful manager at this level, having reached the playoff finals twice with Newport County in 2018-19 and 2020-21. So I think he'll reach the playoffs again with the Saddlers. 6th, I'll go with Doncaster Rovers. The goalkeeping department is fairly decent with Louis Jones and Jonathan Mitchell. They will need to strengthen over the wing backs if they want to reach this position, but they do have the strength and depth in the centre back department. Adam Clayton and Tommy Rowe are very good midfielders, but they potentially maybe need one more. Josh Martin provides a good spark, but I think they need better wingers. But they have been linked with some Premier League youngsters who will be able to fulfil that position with a bit of pace. They also need an experienced striker, but I imagine by the end of this transfer window, maybe the end of the season, they'll bring in these 3 or 4 players. So I'll back them to reach the playoffs. 5th, Leyton Orient. They seemed to be challenging for the playoffs most of last season, but sort of fell away towards the end. I think they'll be more consistent this season and reach the playoffs, and this will partly be down to luck, as they won't have any injuries. And they could even actually win the playoffs, actually. Just a cheeky shout to begin with. 4th, I've gone with AFC Wimbledon. They've already made an amazing transfer with a Welsh international, Chris Gunter. I'm surprised he's in League 2. I would willingly take Chris Gunter at Derby. And they also have a League 1 standard squad. They've got the likes of Will Nightingale, Alex Pearce, Luke McCormick, Paul Columbaye and Lee Brown. Johnny Jackson as a manager is a bit of a concern for me, but he should be alright at this level. It's a bit easier to adjust than going straight into a relegation battle. He sort of needs a pre-season. 3rd one with Gillingham. They've already made some positive moves for improvement with the acquisitions of Dom Jeffries, Ashley Maynard Brewer and Sean Williams. Neil Harris, let's admit, it didn't do great last season, but he did mediocre alright in the middle with Cardiff, so maybe he'll reap success in League 2. I want him to be a good manager, but I don't know if he will be. 2nd, Tranmere Rovers. They've challenged for the playoffs ever since they were relegated in 2019-20. Mickey Mellon has had lots of experience and success with this club, winning the playoffs of both League 2 and the National League, and he was also runners-up in this league with Shrewsbury Town. So why can't he have this success again and get Tranmere promoted? And first, I've gone with Swindon Town. They reached the playoffs last season, and I think this season will be an improvement, and they'll win the league. They have still got the core of a decent squad, and haven't tried to tamper with it too much. I also imagine a few academy products will be promoted this season, due to the managerial link of the manager being in charge of the under-18s not that long ago. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you are new around here, that would be hugely appreciated. Don't know if I'll be back in time on Monday to have the history of Carlisle United, but I have just recorded this morning a video about the history of about Bristol Rovers, so please feel free to check that out. But goodbye for now.